YB Syed Saddiq is Member of Parliament for Muar. He is also the founding member of the Malaysian United Democratic Alliance, otherwise known as MUDA, serving as its first president. In 2018, at 25 years of age, he was appointed Minister of Youth and Sports, making him the youngest federal minister in Malaysian history. In this episode, we have a chance to meet this young, highly talented and already experienced politician. But this episode isn't about politics. It's merely the backdrop as we explore YB Syed Saddiq as a person. He already has many reflections in life, breakthroughs, as well as plans for change. More importantly, he represents our nation's current and future. This is Syed Saddiq, the Merdeka in me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and welcome to this episode of Cuba Cerita. MashaAllah, we are so blessed because as of late more so, we've had many guests who we have longed to have, and we finally have them on the show. Today we have actually a special guest. We as a principal, we do avoid politics and current affairs as a matter of principle, not because we don't enjoy it, but we feel others are doing that. But today happens to be a politician, a very successful politician, but again, it's about what is it behind this leader that we can learn from, we can be inspired from, and hopefully take cues that we can become better leaders ourselves. Please welcome me in joining Yang Berbahagia, Syed Saddiq.
Just panggil Saddiq je. Tak payah formalities. Saddiq is so much easier. Yeah.
Sorry tersasar sikit.
Tak apa, tak ada masalah. Yeah.
No, sir, thank you so much.
No, it's
a real pleasure.
The pleasure is mine.
We've met before. In fact, I visited your lovely home, and thank you for hosting us at your lovely home.
Yeah.
And I've really longed for this day, and especially this morning when I can actually sit down with you. As a coach, I meet leaders of all walks of life. And fair enough, you're in the political industry, but I've always seen you and learnt of you as a leader who can be in almost any environment. So I think that's a compliment I'd just like to share.
It's very kind of you.
Yeah. Now, as you know, this podcast is about who is this person, so we like to get to know this person personally before we then maybe reflect on some of the experiences in life. So if you don't mind, what I'd really like to do is to really share with the audience things which I've learned about you. Because this last weekend, I have actually been watching a lot of these podcasts, where you have been the guest. And I must say, wow, I was quite overawed because, what am I going to ask, or what angles am I going to cover? But most importantly, Syed, I love the stories about your formative years. You were raised in Pulai, Johor Bahru. You are the youngest in a family of 4 siblings.
Yes.
You went to school initially in Maktab Sultan Abu Bakar English College. But for other reasons, your mother brought you to her school. She's a very famous teacher. And and you were there for a while. But what I did observe a lot about you is that, fair enough, academically you were going through the routines, but there were little stories that you shared with others about how you were constantly looking at ways to get around things. And if I can share, if you don't mind,
of course.
I can even remember there's a story where, for example, you and your brother maybe, Syed Abdullah, you wanted to find ways to spend time in cyber cafes.
Oh, we are the rascals. We were the rascals then.
You pakat with your friends and you told stories to respective parents so that you could spend hours in the cyber cafe, which was not common in those days.
Correct.
And even the point where your mother went around to issue warnings to all these cyber cafes to warn them not to allow you into the premises, and yet there were some which were hidden at the back which you could still get into.
Correct. Yeah.
And if I can just share, a lot of these type of stories are very common among successful leaders.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, that's
Because
interesting.
successful leaders are the ones who know to come out of situations.
Yeah.
Not being, bukan jahat, tapi dengan cara nakal tersendiri, and it translates to them solving problems, getting out of tight situations. You know, you also shared, for example, when you went to RMC, it was a turning point in your life.
Oh, definitely.
Where you, you know, you realize that there's a lot more beyond you being a Malay and the actual cultural diversity we have in this country.
Yeah.
Somewhere along that line also, you became quite an accomplished debater.
Yeah.
And I think that's true about you today. That has been a skill that you've learned, not just from speaking, but also from listening to others' point of views.
Yeah.
Okay? And I found that amazing because I don't think many debaters do actually take that into account. And then you are able to then rationalize and then come forth with views of your own. You know, so amazingly, alhamdulillah. And of course you went to UIA to study law and all that, kan?
Yeah.
I'm not going to refer to the term young because I respectfully say that actually, kan, you've become quite an experienced politician.
Oh, I hope so.
You have,
I hope so.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Itu rezeki you.
Yeah.
And I know you passed up 2 opportunities to further your studies at Oxford, and both had great scholarships backing them.
Yeah.
But I believe itu semua disebabkan you actually are getting the better education journey in this journey that you've had so far. You know?
It's not through a script, but at times it's through experience.
Yeah. So here we are today lah. You know? I just maybe want to sort of like, you know, over and above what I've mentioned. What may be thoughts that cross your mind today as Syed Saddiq? You know, the challenges that you've had is public knowledge. Okay, we understand all that. But what really motivates you today to really say, look, fine, life goes on. You know, I really feel I'm still in this.
I think for every single person, they must have their own moral compass. And for me, I'm quite privileged because why I can survive being where I'm at today is because through my formative years, I've institutionalized that moral compass in me. That's part of my identity, part of my conscience, that whenever I'm confronted with new sets of challenges, I know what's needed, and I know that it takes time to realize those very goals. Through my own formative years, when I got into debating, nation building, my pursuits in policy making, I'm very certain that politics is the epicenter of change in Malaysia. It can be good, it can be bad. Good policies lead to millions of people benefiting from it, and bad policies lead to millions suffering. And being a nascent democracy like Malaysia, politics play a pivotal role in shaping future outcomes for the country, intergenerational. So as a consequence, my moral compass is very much in tune with what I want to do for Malaysia. I want for Malaysia to become a developed country in which is governed with strong democratic institutions, because I'm a man who believes that institutions are what's needed, not just personalities and hyper-partisanship, because institutions outlast any political personalities, and that's where I think institutional change is very much needed. I think that's the recipe to make Malaysia a developed country. I want to see a country in which merit, diversity are very much celebrated, not just tolerated. I want to ensure that any Malaysian, regardless of race, religion, age, can progress to climb up the socio-economic ladder because of the equal opportunities in which this country provides. So it's not just equal outcomes, but equal opportunities. But most importantly, I want to ensure that Malaysia becomes the beacon of hope in Southeast Asia and among Muslim majority countries. So when people look at a success story of a Muslim majority country which could effectively embrace democracy, strong institutions, having a very strong base in science and technology, hosting some of the best companies across the world, they will look at Malaysia. And that's my great hope. And that obviously ties in to Malaysia being one of the beacons of hope in Southeast Asia. I mean, if you look in the 1980s, 1990s, whenever US or UK president and prime minister would visit Southeast Asia, Malaysia will often be the first country of destination. But today, I mean, we're not even destination number 3, 4, 5. I mean, Biden visited, Biden have met up with then Sian Long, Jokowi, even the current prime minister of Thailand, Marcos Jr. in the Philippines, Vietnam. But we are often overlooked today. I think that just shows the regression of soft power. So while I say that, I have great hopes that Malaysia can progress very quickly, because I know that our population is very much diverse, and I see diversity as a strength. We have such a diligent workforce. That's why, I mean, if you look at the youth of today, they can work 2 or 3 different odd jobs to just make ends meet. So they are very hardworking. We are actually very much a very much educated populace. So I think we have the recipe for success. It's just about sparking that wave, so that wave can be converted into a tsunami of change. So I am optimistic. I want to see Malaysia become a developed country. I know what I want to do and what's needed to get there. And I think that's why whenever I'm confronted with challenges, negativities, it's okay. Because in the end, to change Malaysia, you'll definitely need the iron in you to turbocharge the country forward.
I mean, those are great words, great aspirations, and of course give a lot of hope to all of us. But in reflection, like when you were younger, is there any particular sort of like moment where you said, this is just not right, I got to do something about it? And even going back to even your early, because there must have been something in that period when you were growing up.
I mean, there's some negative, positive sparks which led me to do what I am today. I mean, the more positive ones is obviously learning from my mum. My mum is a dedicated civil servant, a teacher throughout her life. And one very strong memory which is imprinted in my mind when I was studying at my mum's school as well, that was secondary school, Sekolah Menengah Datuk Osman Awang. It was a normal daily secondary school. But every time when I'm to head back from school, my mum will always make it a habit to stop at the Caltex nearby. And then it was Caltex, now I'm not sure whether it's still there. But to stop, not to fill up petrol. But because usually at that particular Caltex, which is situated very close to my school, there will be a lot of young students who will just be seated at the Caltex to sell many different items. At times, jeruk, food, drinks, etc. Just to sell it. And that was obviously not endorsed by Caltex, but you know, they need to do that.
Money also.
Correct. So my mom will go and see them, and you know, my mom is a very strict teacher. So whenever they see my mom approaching them, some of them panic. But then my mom will ask like, where are your parents? And they'll say, oh, parents is working, and then we'll ask for their phone numbers. And then we'll get them a little bit panicked. But then my mom will say no, because I want to contact your parents so that you will enroll in my tuition class for free.
This was at home?
My mom it's not a tuition center, it's very small tuition at home, but my mom will like to take up all the students and teach them. And I've witnessed firsthand how a lot of them who couldn't afford joining the class for free regularly, from not being able to converse in English, being able to converse very well, but more importantly having that disciplined, regimented lifestyle which allows them to become very successful individuals. And that truly was an eye-opener, because it inbuilt that culture of service above and beyond anything else. That it's not about monetary gains, it's not about fame, it's really about putting in the effort and the hours to train others, hoping that in the smallest way they've been inspired to become better people. So that's one very important life experience which I went
memory,
through.
Kan? And your father was one who had to cross the causeway every day. So that's
diligence, right? I mean, seeing my father waking up 4:30 a.m. in the morning, even before subuh, getting ready, and then crossing the causeway every morning, and then it will be highly congested. I mean, our causeway is the busiest border in the world, 400,000 commuting daily. So when he does that, I mean, he'll get stuck in traffic, arrive to work hours off, and then only back at about midnight. And that happens almost every day. I think it's about 6 days a week. only one day off. But my father never complained. He's a diligent gentleman, and I think that taught me as well. In order to help the family grow, you'll have to be highly diligent, and being able to withstand whatever pressure comes away, because then the Singaporean job market wasn't as stable as it is today. So I witnessed how my father moved from one job to another, but then never ever stopping to take care of the family.
Can. And these are again reflections that we can only look back now and say, wow, the things that they went through just to raise. Kan?
Exactly.
Adik-beradik you pun quite close age, kan? The four of you.
Yeah, there's about
two brothers and a sister.
3 years difference each. About that.
So, you graduated as a lawyer. Did you ever think of going to practice law after that?
Definitely. I mean, especially when I was in law school, I did intend to practice. But I know deep down then, I had a calling for not politics but public policy. Because I know in the end, you can either be a lawmaker or you can just work within the very rigid law ambit, which is in court, right? And I know then, to change Malaysia, the epicenter of change is politics. It can be good or bad. So I know I wanted to help in policy making, but then not in the front line, to be either a researcher, an officer, to frontline politicians, and or effectively influencing change. I mean, at that time, never did I expect to be where I'm at today in the front line, because I actually love my privacy. I love my own private life, my own flexibilities. However, obviously, when you're in the front lines, many things change. But I don't regret it a single bit.
No, Alhamdulillah, and we're happy that you did take that course. So were you ever in like student politics in the university and Persatuan Pelajar and all that? In
contrast to popular belief, no. I mean, I was very much then focused on my debating career. I mean, by the second year of my time in university, I was already a part-time lecturer teaching debating, public speaking, and niche, which is a accredited subject in the university. I was the youngest part-time lecturer. So then I was like, wow, it was quite financially stable. I was also the debate trainer for the university. I was teaching debates in many different countries, especially Qatar. I was tutoring 2 different schools. So I had like 5 or 6 different income streams. I was living quite a comfortable life then.
While you were still studying?
During my second year in university. I made a deal with my university. I think they didn't expect for me to fulfill it. During my first World Universities Debating Championship, when we were up against the best universities in the world, then I really wanted to teach so that I don't have to rely financially on my parents, because they were already burdened in many different ways. So I said, if I were to break the record and to get into the grand finals, they will waive the criteria, which will then allow me to teach in the university. And they took up that risk.
This was the UIA team?
Correct. They took up the risk, and during my first year in university, I was able to get into the grand finals. As a consequence, by the second year, I was already teaching students taking up their masters in IIUM.
Wow.
So that was it was good, but that really shaped my interest then into politics, because financially then I was relatively comfortable because working different jobs. But then I realized that am I just going to limit my interest in policy making only between the confinement of a debate room? Because I'm reading so much, I love talking about policies and change. I think in the end it's about converting that policy know-how into actual change on the ground via politics.
And were you like also with a group of friends who had similar aspirations and made your headway, or were you really on your own going into the policy environment?
I think in terms of politics, then it was a very lonely experience, because debating, I had a great, thriving support group, which came from my university. I mean, then we were not even number 1 in Asia, and then the university helped me and the team, and we became the best in Asia for a few years. Beating the best universities in Singapore, NUS, NTU, and then after that we put an aim to become top 10 in the world, and then we were consistently top 10 in the world. Then we put another aim to become top 3 in the world. We were able to beat the best universities across Australasia. Back then the best was in Australia, Sydney University, Monash, and then my juniors, managed to beat them and become the best in Australasia. So among the debate community, it's a very thriving community. But in politics, then it was very new because I have absolutely no family members.
So I heard.
In politics, the closest is my grandmother was an ahli biasa. Cawangan, not even bahagian, cawangan UMNO Kebonteh, I think. Very small one, which is just an ahli biasa. So I'm the first. And my entrance was, again, almost luck. Because then there was this internship program called Fellow Perdana, Perdana Fellowship, which was conceptualized by YB Kari Jamaluddin.
Yes.
Then it was Kari Jamaluddin. And then I just applied. I remember it was an online application, tried my luck. I remember, because if I were to get in, then there'll even be a monthly stipend of 1,500 ringgit. And then 1,500 is a lot, right? Because I was working many different things. I thought, okay, I did 1,500, quite good. And I got selected. I was placed under YB Nancy Shukri, then the Minister of Law. And then that opened up many different doors of opportunities. And YB Nancy was exceptional. She was an exceptional mentor. She's not much of a politician. I actually see her more as a career civil servant who's really focused on in the ministry work, in moving the country forward. She doesn't play a lot of politics. So that really also shaped who I am today. So I'm forever indebted to her. And then from there, I was also picked up by the former Menteri Besar of Johor, YB Khalid Nordin. And I was placed under his think tank, which is Bait Alamana, the House of Trust. I did a lot of speech writing, policy recommendations, and he was another person who gave me the opportunity to serve. It was only much later that I was introduced to Tun Dr. Mahathir and Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, who obviously then mentored me to go into frontline politics. So, I mean, it was a combination of luck, effort, merit, everything coming together.
Being there at the right time, right place.
But that's why I always love being in Malaysia, because this confluence of scenarios, which then led to a unique breakthrough, could only happen in a country like Malaysia. I mean, it's not easy to have someone with absolutely no background in politics, no influence, but then being able to pierce through the doors of politics. So I'm forever grateful.
Yeah, and even being spotted by Tun, that in itself, because he's got such an eye for talent. Can you reflect with us, what was that first introduction meeting with him like?
Yeah, I mean, my first conversation with Tun happened via letters. And it didn't happen much later. It happened when I was a kid. I think it was either Darjah 1 or in Tadika.
Wow.
Darjah 1. I remember it was 1998 because we were hosting the Commonwealth Games.
Okay.
Me being me, I tried my writing a letter. In school then they say, write a letter to the Prime Minister. Okay. Yeah, I took it to the next level. Instead of just handing over to the teacher, I mailed it directly to the Prime Minister's office in Putrajaya. Wrote a letter, and I remember what I wrote. I said that I'd like to invite Tun to come over to my house because I want to bake cookies and cook for him.
Really?
Yeah, which is obviously me and my mom. It's not me cooking.
No.
But it's just it was quite, I didn't know about politics. I know about policies, but I know of cookies, which taste good, and good food. So I did that, and then to my surprise, after a few weeks, he responded.
Wow.
And when Tun responds, he personalizes it. It's not his officers, and I know for a fact it's not his officers, because when I worked for him much after, much later, I realized he responds on his own.
Wow.
He really dislikes it when other people respond on behalf of him.
And he's not in his own way.
Yeah. And then he responded and said, I'm sorry that he couldn't make it because he has a lot of work in Putrajaya, which obviously I'm like, however, he'd like to invite me to go watch the Commonwealth Games.
So you did go?
Yeah, and there were tickets together, not just me, but for my family. That's where you realize, in the smallest of ways, he impacted my life so much. This was when I was a kid,
MashaAllah.
And obviously, it's not affordable to go watch the Commonwealth Games. What more coming from a lower middle income family? Right? And then I don't think I've been to Kuala Lumpur. I don't know whether that's my first time to Kuala Lumpur. But I vividly remember, the stadium, it's so big.
Yes, it was very grand.
Very, very different than where I was, where I grew up at. Also, I didn't get to meet him, but
No.
the fact that I could attend the Commonwealth Games to me was exceptional.
Yes.
I remember then, I think that was the time of Datuk Nicole David.
Yes.
You know, I was watching, wow, and
And all the world class athletes also.
correct.
Kan?
Yeah, it's not just about world class athletes,
Yeah.
but seeing that Malaysia is hosting
Yeah.
world class athletes is truly inspirational because it puts us on the world map that we can be among the best. So that was my first, and then obviously absolutely no contact whatsoever. Second time again was a very unfortunate incident, which I did joke with too much after. When I was in military college,
Okay.
Form 5, finished my SPM, about to go for my passing out parade. Then me and my batchmates, like my batchmate, I think about 203 of us, because it was like our final few nights at the military college before passing out parade, we decided to, the system called fly. Fly means you panjat pagar and then you go out lah, illegally.
Yeah.
We were like, come on, we are about to graduate anyway, right? SPM is done, so we decided to do that. But in RMC, there's no panjat pagar because behind our school is just a golf course.
Okay.
So all of us in our boxes, it wasn't like boxers, and then like barely wearing a t-shirt. So all of us walking on the golf course, heading to the mines, because behind us, closest mall is the mines.
All right.
And then while we are walking, little did we know that Tun's house actually is there at the mines.
Yes.
Right. Obviously, at his house, there will be a lot of police officers because he was not the prime minister. I think he was the former prime minister then.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a former prime minister, but he still has a.
Yeah.
I mean,
Security,
right?
kan?
So can you imagine how they would panic seeing a lot of people walking right behind his house
In their boxer shorts.
in their boxes late at night. I think it was midnight, going to the mines.
And you knew it was his house, lah?
No.
Oh, you didn't?
We had no idea whatsoever because usually when we would fly, it would be like 5 of us, 3 of us, never like
The whole
a whole battalion.
Yeah.
So then obviously I think someone must have triggered the police. Next, the big, not just the police cars, the police trucks. Yeah. Semua datang and like were chasing us on the golf course. A lot of us got caught. I didn't because I jumped into the tasik, which was very dangerous. I only realised after there were a lot of deaths there, but I jumped in, put my head down, and then breathe a little bit, and then put my head down until everyone got caught. So I didn't get caught, and I rushed back, entered my room, and then just acted as if I was sleeping.
As if you're not part of the group, lah.
But then I realised that it definitely woke Tun up. I noticed it after because then the police were telling me, "Do you know that you are behind the former prime minister's house? You know this is not, you're not supposed to do." I'm like, "Oh yeah," I was saying none of us knew that. So it's the second very short moment of Tun at the top at his house, and then like all of us getting chased by police cars. So there's the second, the proper formal introduction. Again, happened out of luck as well. I think this was 3rd or 4th year when I was in university. No, I think it was 3rd year when I was in university. Suddenly I received a call and it was from an unknown number. Very dodgy, so usually whenever it's from an unknown number, I don't pick up. At the time, okay lah, I just pick up. And then the person at the end of the other line was like, ni Syed Saddiq kan? No Assalamualaikum, no hello. I was like, ini Syed Saddiq kan? So I'm like, bro, it's a guy. So I was like, you called me, so obviously you know whether Syed Saddiq or not. And I said, okay, tu Dr. Mahathir nak jumpa dengan kamu. It's like jumpa like in 1 day or 2 days, very quick. So I'm like, so in my mind I thought this is a scam. Immediately because this person didn't introduce himself, no Assalamualaikum, no hello. Suddenly to Dr. Mahathir wants to meet you. I'm like, who am I? Right, I'm a nobody.
Exactly.
So I thought it was a scam. I'm like, okay. Nah, saya bila? Datang dekat Petronas Twin Towers, tunggu kat bawah, nanti kita akan bawa kamu naik. So I'm like, I'm thinking, okay, even if it's a scam, what's the worst case which could happen? The worst case is I'll be left hanging at
Twin Towers.
At the Twin Towers, which is not bad, right? I mean, it's perfectly fine. So I'm like, okay, let's just go. And then when I went, and then there were like quite a number of young leaders there as well. Some I know were like elected leaders of mahasiswa. So I'm like, okay, and then we were brought up, and that was our first formal interaction. I mean, I can't speak on behalf of the others, but for me, it was my first formal interaction with Tun. But whenever I got the opportunity, like then, I never wasted the opportunity. So while the others were very quiet,
I can imagine.
Yeah, I think Tun was saying that, oh, you guys need to save UMNO. So I'm like, I've never joined UMNO, I've never joined any political party. Why must I save UMNO? I do not care when to begin with. So then they were saying, oh, you have to save UMNO, corruption, this, that. So instead of everyone just keeping quiet, I was like, I just raised up my hands like, Tun, you've been the president of UMNO for more than 20 years. If you can't save UMNO, if your voice do not matter,
what can
these
we
20
do?
young guys? I mean, I'm not even an UMNO member. What can I do? It was taken. It was taken aback.
Betul juga,
And they asked, so okay, then what do you suggest? You know, and it's very. I think it was quite annoyed. I'm like, okay, then let's try something more disruptive. Set up another political outfit to challenge UMNO in the rural areas where they are dominant. They was giving, tu kamu nak pecah kau ni, ini bukan pecah ni. Then you work with the opposition, and then you bring a first time change in government, which is a first time change in mindset that Malaysians can actually determine their own future without being reliant on any government. At the time, pretty sure he disagreed with me because it's like he was taken aback. There was no conversation of setting up any political party, but I wasn't afraid to share my opinion because at the time I thought this may be the only time I'll meet up with Dr. Mahdi, so I thought it's better for me to share.
To lose.
Yeah. And but one thing I learned about Tun, even though he may disagree with you, it's better for you to voice it out to his face instead of stabbing him in the back. And that's why I think I've always had a very good relationship with Tun. Even in the many moments where I disagree, I always tell him directly, and he is a gentleman. He will not because you tell him directly, he will. I've never, especially today, you know, there are many moments where there are disagreements. He knows of it, but he has never taken it out personally on me. Has never blocked me, because in the end, I think he knows that differences should not burn bridges, and that's something which I value. That's why people say he is a dictator. No, I mean, I can't speak on behalf of others, but my own experience shows exactly that. So because of that very moment, then I thought it would be my last opportunity. But after that, through different platforms, we came together. And that's where I was part of his movement Deklarasi Rakyat, Citizens Declaration, and then we decided together to form a political party called Bersatu. So I was one of the 7 co-founders, the youngest co-founder. Then I was only 22 years old, and then things are history.
You headed the youth wing and all that, and the rest of history is amazing, kan?
Yeah.
But that's one thing about Tun, kan? He's always been so sharp, and there are many instances. I've actually interacted with him more on a personal basis because there's some family relationship. But from my friends who have interacted with him, it's like you're really, even at this age, you have to be on your guard. Yeah. Because he's just so sharp. Kan? So obviously you still keep that personal line open till today, and he's ever willing to ni kan? Yeah. MashaAllah. Yeah. And God bless him lah. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, I mean he's 99.
Kan? It's amazing.
But he behaves like he's a 79-year-old.
I know. So okay, and there's another thing that you interact with, prime ministers and leaders, and and there's one thing that struck me also when someone asked you the question, why be Saddiq? Do you actually aspire to become the prime minister? And really the story that I heard was that you politely said, it's not my aspiration.
Correct.
I believe that I can be behind change without even being that prime minister.
Correct.
But one thing I found very interesting as a reflection was that you said, and I'm sorry if I don't quote correctly, but you said something along the lines that if I aspire to become the prime minister, I need to build a structure and system around me, which may enable me to become the prime minister one day, but it would take away my focus from what I should be doing as a servant to the people. Yeah. I said, wow, I've never heard that angle before.
I believe being part of a team which will then institute the most sweeping reforms in Malaysia. Being part of a team is much better because, to be honest, we have been so personality centered in Malaysia to a point that even those who bring the ray of hope but being placed in that position without a proper team and proper institutional support will regress the country. So I always believe in having a strong team backed with strong institutions. And also today, I can say without any doubt that there are so many other leaders who are much, much better than me, including some who are much younger than me. So it's better to be part of a team and learn as much as possible than anything else. And the reason why I can say that with complete certainty, because one of my happiest moments ever, I think for the time being, is when I got 3 constitutional amendments through in Parliament. Undi 18, Calon 18 and Undi Automatic. And I wasn't Prime Minister, I was just a minister who worked with a team, including those in opposition, to realise that change. And the reason I say that's the happiest moment, because I know in the smallest of ways I've brought intergenerational change. And today we've had 4 different Prime Ministers, change in multiple governments, but the reforms which we instituted still remains, and today young people are the kingmakers in Malaysian politics.
Betul.
We shall not last
Betul.
for this generation only, it will be intergenerational. So yeah, I was just part of a team, and that means a lot.
Well, yes, you're part of the team, but I think you were a very important member of that team. And I think this is a valuable lesson to even corporate leaders, because sometimes a corporate leader who may still feel that they're down there, they don't have the weight or the muscle to voice out.
Yeah.
But if you articulate your thoughts carefully,
Yeah.
you respect the views of others, because that was not an easy bill to pass also, because it opened up a new horizon to Malaysian politics. And there were not very many supporters as were, those who did support it.
Yeah.
So I think this is a valuable lesson.
Correct.
It's not so much as what you say, it's cara, how you say it, kan?
Yeah.
I also know and I observe from afar the courage in you. For example, when you decided to set up MUDA, now let's be honest, the political system in this country is all about conforming to a party, being part of a major party, being connected to the grassroots, and yet you and your team were going to go out and set up our own party.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. You know that the chances of success are very small.
Correct.
Let's be honest and frank. But yet you still go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
How do you build that strength of conviction intelligently to still go ahead and do something which is totally out of the norm?
I mean, it goes back to my moral compass, right? I said at the beginning, I know what I want and what's needed. At that point in time, I think there was a lot of political apathy in Malaysia, especially post Sheraton, change in government in the middle of the term, and then dominated by the same old political figures in Malaysia who have been quite overwhelming in Malaysian politics, a lack of rejuvenation of political leaders. But more importantly, knowing that our political system is broken, is still controlled by a handful of political and corporate elites. At the same time, core issues like underemployment, quality of education, public transportation, climate change are rarely debated with facts and figures. You look at wage stagnancy in Malaysia. I mean, today, the fact that an undergraduate, after studying for 6 years and getting an engineering degree, still on average gets paid below 2,000 ringgit is ridiculous, right? Workers are often overlooked because in Malaysia, unlike other developed countries, they rarely unionize, and that's why the share of the country's income to GDP is very low. We're only about 33%, while in many other highly capitalistic countries, it's 55% and above. And I can give you a whole list of things, but the point is, I think our political system is broken. It doesn't represent the masses, the working class, which I get very concerned. And I think that also explains why, after decades of being touted as a potential Asian tiger, we've never broken into the developed country category. So I thought, let's try something more disruptive, knowing that the chances of success is not just slim, but like hyper slim. But at least we were doing something, right? Some people are so scared to do something because it may lead to failure. So what? Even if it leads to failure, it's not that that's the end of my life. It means then you innovate, you learn, you redirect. The point of the matter is, it's better to try than to not try at all. I think it was a time where I was able to also build a new team or a new generation of leaders who would not have given the opportunity in politics otherwise. And that's why I think now YB Amir Aisha being the president of MUDA and also an elected representative in the Johor Legislative Assembly, to me is truly inspiring, because now in the smallest of ways I'm able to influence and to help another young leader come up as well. And that's why I keep on stressing it's about the team. Because I can never do it alone. What more now? She's the youngest president, and what more, female, a strong woman as a president. So I want to see a lot more of this happening in Malaysian politics.
I like the way you say the youngest.
Way younger than me.
That was you. That was you many years ago too, kan? So, speaking about MUDA and personalities, and how do you, as that leader who, under circumstances, had to vacate the presidency, how do you ensure that the Amira Aishas and the rest of them who are coming up, they are your successors beyond you as that beacon? What do you do in terms of that real succession planning?
That's why it takes a lot of mentoring and guidance, right? I mean, Amira then was my chief of staff, someone who I know, if she was given the same opportunity as I was, I think she would do exceptional things for Malaysia. So the least I can do is to help open the door. And my job is just opening the door, because the others is all her, right? Because I think she's there on her own merit. And then there are many others. I mean, that's why in the MUDA leadership today, these are people who have never had any political background, but now when given a chance can do amazing things. Yes, we're not, a traditional political establishment which have had decades of political roots in Malaysia, having the backing of billionaires, having a very strong financial base. We don't have all of that. I mean, this house was MUDA's HQ for more than 1 or 2 years, because we had no money. So we really saved up. We had a lot of volunteers. We don't have paid staff. Right? When we went to elections, we were relying on crowdfunding, not donations from a select handful of people. But yes, that also means it's much harder to climb up the political ladder. Because in Malaysia, the reason I say the system is broken, we don't even have a political funding act. So can you imagine, in Malaysian politics, you will only have a few hyper-rich donors who will end up controlling the political establishment, and whoever wins will have to kowtow to the very same corporate establishment. So it's a interdependent relationship. And then that leads to issues of corruption, mismanagement, abuse of power. That leads to incompetency. That leads to an erosion of meritocracy. That's where you get bad policy making, which affects our education system, and many others. So that's why I say the system is broken. But in order for you to disrupt that system, you need a group of leaders who are principled, who are daring, who are disruptive, who are willing to bring that wrecking ball to smash the wall of that old archaic system. I think that will truly unleash Malaysia's true potential, and we are destined to become a developed country.
And I believe that there are many leaders like yourself who may even be from different parties, but have that same spirit and determination. Cuma they are confined within those walls.
Correct.
One of my interviews I had was with Dr. Ong Kian Meng.
He's a good guy.
Very good guy. And I really, respectfully mentioned some of the key points about him as a person, which I really respected and admire. But I told him also, I said, my observation is that politics today is so different. You don't need to belong to these traditional houses, say. I mean, your Langkah Muar 200-kilometer runs. I don't know how many marathons in how many days is that. But I mean, and I was thinking to myself, wow. But what I really liked was the people who came out to support you, and we were actually also looking from afar and saying, my goodness, this is the spirit of the future of Malaysia, But that's why I'm optimistic, because again, if you follow the old system, I will forever be chained down. For an example, some people say I'm quite, it's either I'm very naive or just stupid in politics, if I can put it very bluntly. Because if you follow common practice, you'll always want to stay close to the political establishment and the root of power, which is government. Because that's where the money, contracts, positions are at. But from the beginning of my political career, I've always opposed that. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Usually, the common practice that if you are in opposition, then you'll move to government, right? When you move to government, you get 20 million allocations per term, you get GLC positions, agency positions, multiple pensions, and you're set for life. But for me, from the beginning of my political career, I was in government at first. When I knew that something was wrong, I moved to opposition. And that was a point in time where no one thought opposition could win. And then when I was a minister, I was comfortable. I was a minister, I was the youth chief, co-founder of a political party. But when Sheraton happened, I principally disagreed. It's nothing personal, but I principally disagreed. And yes, I lost my ministerial position, and then at the same time getting persecuted. But it's okay. I was in opposition and I stood my ground. Fast forward again, I won my second term. I was in government, but when I knew that corruption cases worth hundreds of millions were being dropped and very much unconscionable, unprincipled moves were being done,
I couldn't find it. My conscience would just remain silent. I would be the hypocrite.
Yeah.
Then I move again to opposition. But throughout this, I've lost a lot. But so what if I've lost a lot?
Yeah.
The point of the matter is I'm merely a vehicle to people's aspiration, right? Does that mean that's the end of the world? Yes. Let's say, for an example, for this term, I lose 20 million a term and multiple different positions. But I can innovate.
Yeah.
I can do my so many different fundraising activities. And this is not new. In 2020, I did my botak challenge,
Yes.
right? That raised about 400,000 ringgit. I taught tuition. It was here, online. Then because it was time of COVID, more than 2,000 students joining.
Wow.
Through Zoom then, I remember.
Yeah.
I think I charged 200 ringgit per person for 5 different classes.
Oh.
And then I became a Shopee seller. I mean, people didn't know, I went on Shopee not just at my house, the official HQ in, I think it was near Mid Valley, for 30 minutes going on the official Shopee live selling kurta. Right, which was for my brand because I was fundraising. And we sold a lot. One day alone, I think we sold about 80,000 ringgit, right? Which was okay. And then to fundraise, me and my mom at the kitchen selling lasagna and shakshuka to fundraise. And we did a lot. And at that point in time, while I was in opposition, we raised, I think, 1 million or 2 million plus through these multiple initiatives. And we were able to distribute 2,000 laptops and tablets, 30,000 food bank, right? And many, I think 100 or 200,000 ringgit worth of scholarships via SSPN. But this was all through innovative means without relying on government handouts.
And not being too complicated either.
Correct.
Get it done.
Yeah. So today again, yes, I'll scream injustice in Parliament, but I'm not doing enough. I just say, oh, this is unfair. Well, let's put my words to action, and that's where the Muar Parliament run happened. And again, that happened just without. People say, oh, you need to proper planning, a technical team. No, I didn't. It was just literally me and a few of my team members said, okay, let's do it. I mean, if I feel I thought I couldn't do it. I thought, if I feel, so what? Right? Time perfection is the enemy of progress.
200 kilometers.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, it became about 170 kilometers because the police told us that there are some routes we cannot take because we cannot take the highway.
Yeah lah.
So we had to take Jalan Dalam. And Jalan Dalam, I remember from Rembau to Seremban, there wasn't even a motorcycle lane. There wasn't even like the emergency lane. There were like huge trucks going through, and the police said, no, cannot. And then when I reached Cheras in KL, I wanted to continue following day because it was a Monday working day. They said cannot because if I run and it was a Monday, there were a lot of runners. No, there were a lot of runners wanted to join me. It would be unsafe.
Oh yeah.
Can you imagine 20-30 people running on highways? So in the end, I think it was about 170 kilometers.
Cukup jauh.
But again, from nothing, we were able to raise close to 200,000 ringgit. I think in the end it was about 179,000.
Yeah.
And these are from small donors.
Kan?
These are not from the billionaires and millionaires.
These are just people come out and see you and support.
I remember there were a few people say, ni mesti like 1 billionaire kasih ni nak cuci duit. I said, okay, we showed the data. More than 5,400 donors.
Yes.
These are small donors.
Yang ikhlas pula tu, who want to donate for the right reason.
Yeah, I mean, but that's why I'm optimistic of Malaysia, because I think you just need innovative, disruptive leaders to unleash Malaysia's true potential.
YB, we are close to the end of this session, and I respect your time. Can I just ask a few questions, which actually were conveyed by some of our subscribers, and I'm actually going to start with the question from my own daughter.
Sure.
She's in uni now.
Which university?
She's in Monash. She's
that's
she's
amazing.
psychology. Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Oh, wow.
She's one of those.
Is she on the twinning program?
No, she's actually going to do her degree here,
Okay,
inshallah,
that's
and
great.
then see how it goes for postgrads. But she's wanting to take up psychology.
Oh, that's amazing.
So
She should really meet up with the, I think, chairman or vice chancellor of Monash, which is Prof. Dr. Adiba.
Oh, okay.
Truly inspirational lady.
Introduced by you. Thank you.
Yeah. So I mean, she's in good hands. She's in good hands. Yeah.
So actually, when I told her we're going to meet you, and she says, Ayah, can you just ask YB, what is your expectation of today's young generation? Maybe one or two key pieces of advice.
I just hope that the Malaysian youth will have grit in moving the country forward. Because I think in terms of diligence, technical know-how, educational level, I think in contrast to popular belief, actually we are much better relative to our peers. But grit is a very different skill set.
Grit
is a combination of passion, determination, having that marathon of a mindset, no matter how painful that journey, maybe you have the grit in you to just keep on charging forward. Grit is an important skill set to have, because if you look at success stories, for example, Japan post Hiroshima, Nagasaki, you think that it will be a failed state. I mean, then it was post-war and they were worst off, but it was grit which got the country forward. South Korea at one point in time was behind us. It was under a dictatorship. But then the people bounced back with grit. Right? I think Malaysia, I think with grit we can do exceptional things.
Maybe the word is kederat, correct?
Correct.
That determination and
correct.
And not willing to give up, just go, just toe the line, kan?
Yes. I mean, it's really a combination, because you can have that disciplined, regimented life, but if you don't have a clear purpose and passion in it becomes hard. So grit is a combination of like really diligence, determination, but more importantly, very clear purpose, vision, which is tied with your passion. So the reason I say that, because I don't expect everyone to be like politicians. No. Like, let's say with grit, but let's say you are in the arts industry, but you have strong grit to a point that no matter what challenges you face, you know how to innovate, you know how to disrupt, and even while you do that, there will be a lot of challenges. You will fall 1,000 times, but you will climb back up 1,001 times. That is grit. You can be a doctor, again, can fail many times, but with grit, you'll become a great doctor, which will effectively save thousands of lives. That's grit. So in different industries, we are actually doing our own, we are realizing our own life goals, which when connected, make Malaysia a better place.
So I hope, that, and I think today it's a much more challenging environment for the future generations. There's just so many things happening, so many fast things and expectations, and and I think to be able to remain focused and determined and achieve what you set out to do is so important. Okay, I'm going to touch on maybe two areas which coincidentally I had a group of old schoolmates. And again, we belong to that generation
which school?
We were from St. John's.
Oh, wow, amazing.
So actually all of us celebrated our 60th birthday today. This year. 60th. 60th birthday this year. So we are the generation where we think we had the best life. But anyway, so we come from an era where there was great diversity.
Correct.
And we believe it was even through the education system which allowed that to happen.
Was that St. John full English school?
Well, we were at transition. Bahasa, it was, in fact, it was on MCE to SPM time, But we were fortunate because we belonged to a diverse group of Malaysians from all walks of life and races and cultural background. But if you were Minister of Education today, what may be two policies?
Too many.
One policy.
No, I want to do a lot.
Ask me. Katakan dua lah kan. Two top in your mind. Two policies that would help, improve the education, but contribute towards the strength of our diversity in this country.
Okay. First and foremost, I will decentralize education to states, and I'll tell you why. It doesn't sound sexy, but I think it will lead to a sexy outcome.
Okay.
I'm very certain that in order for our primary and secondary education to succeed, we need to increase the contact hours for maths, science, technology, and at the same time have a lot more soft skills development. However, for me to do that, there's always a trade-off. When you increase one subject, you have to decrease another, which is very sensitive, especially in the political realm today. However, learn from China. The late Deng Xiaoping, and mind you, he was in the Communist Party, even harder. But how did China embrace capitalism? It was through decentralization. Less of education, that was economy. So he allowed Shanghai, Hong Kong, a few others to decentralize, run a fully capitalistic model. When they became success stories, then it was applied nationwide. In Malaysia, I think for education, decentralized. Why I say decentralized? You will get states like today, Sarawak, fully embracing English. Right? And at the same time, experimenting with a policy of decentralization. And then Sabah will do that. But at the same time, I'm also cognizant. Kelantan, Terengganu may take a very different path. It's okay. That's what decentralization is about. However, 5 years from now, you'll have proper data points to see success stories and failed stories.
And adjust.
Then you can have a lot more, I wouldn't say regimentation, but then you will have different models of experimentation which will lead to success. Okay, so that's one. Decentralization, I believe, in the end, not just will lead to the best model succeeding, but more importantly, enough of political bureaucrats regimenting how school should be. For an example, I show a very simple example of where decentralization can work. Remember times of COVID?
Okay.
Sekolah tutup, semua tutup. Walhal, for an example, in Parit Jawa Muar, it was a green zone. There was 0 COVID case. But let's say in Ipoh, it's a red zone. But why? Because there's one red zone, semua kena tutup. With decentralization, principals can decide. Kenapa?
Yeah.
Who knows better about the school and the specific context? Principals and teachers in that very school and parents. So let principals, parents, teachers decide. Janganlah nak samakan sekolah dekat luar dengan sekolah dekat contoh kawasan pedalaman Sarawak. So different contexts require different skill sets and know-how. So I can give you a whole list of why decentralization will work, but I think first is decentralization.
Interesting.
Secondarily is enhancing national schools so that become the school of choice. Today, it's become the opposite. You mentioned then St. John is very diverse. St. John, VI, even RMC and many others. Today is reversing. National schools are becoming very much monoethnic. International, private and vernacular schools are becoming multiracial. For an example, a study done shows that vernacular schools today on average have 20 to 30% of Malay students. However, national schools today have less than 10% of non-Malay students. It's becoming the opposite. But for you to blame parents for sending their children to vernacular schools or private international schools, I think it's quite unfair. Because parents have their reasons, and I as a political bureaucrat cannot force. What can I do? I can make national schools so successful that in the end parents will not be forced to send their children to private international school. It's not that parents love private international school. It's just to them they see it as academically superior, better infrastructure, better teachers, better etc. Right? What can I do? First and foremost, I mean obviously the most basic things to ensure that dilapidated schools are no longer there. The basic minimum, but it's not enough lah, because if you are a St. John graduate 20 years ago, most likely you are in the middle class, upper middle income earner. So just having a decent sekolah kebangsaan is not enough. So you need proper curriculum, because you want to make sure that our national school curriculum is better than private international school curriculum. And I know I can do that. For example, today, back then people always follow the Scandinavian model. Oh, no exams, no this, no that. Today, again, if you like PISA rankings, it is the Singaporean model which works, which is combination of experiential learning while having some level of regimentation. So, I mean, the days of people looking up to the Scandinavian model is over. Okay. So I think we can learn from that, apply it. But that means a lot of pivoting. Math, science, and a lot of soft skills development, longer school hours, got some specific things, very technical things we can look at. Above and beyond that, funding. Where should funding go? I believe that every single school student from B80, forget about people look only at B40, M40, you know, our middle class always get sidelined. B40, T20, middle class. So B80, every single student will get either a laptop or tablet, but at national schools.
And it's doable.
It is doable because the cost is not that big. It's not that, I mean, really, you know, today we already spend, I mean, once I talk about spending of education, it gets longer, but we outspend Singapore and Japan per capita on education. Outspend. On average, we spend 20%. Singapore spends, I think, about 11%. Japan, about 7 to 8%. We outspend per capita. So, it's not a problem of funding, okay? But one, everyone should be given a laptop or tablet, because that gives digital literacy, and whatever gap you have, you can catch up. Even a poor student with access to a laptop and tablet, obviously with proper internet infrastructure, now with 5G reaching 80% of Malaysia, you can do that. Okay, so it takes a little bit of capital, but why I say that? So that in the end, when a parent who comes from a middle class family will have to pick, it's better for me to send to national school, because national school, immediately my son or daughter will get and not this chiplak laptop. I'm talking about proper quality laptop and tablet. That's one. Two, a subsidized, nutritious breakfast program. And this is really proper,
basic.
Correct. So please, when I say nutritious, it's proper nutritious food. So that in the end, with these two huge pull factors, people will want to send their students to national schools. One is proper curriculum. Two is catching up on digital literacy to close the gap. And three is proper nutritious food, so that you don't suffer from any nutrition deficit as you grow up. If you as a parent SM private international school mahal, as you can takkan dapat all these kind of things, okay, I'll send it here for a change, right? So I think that's something which Malaysia sorely needs.
And you know what? to me, I don't think it's so much what we do, but it's also, again, going back to the how, you need to build their confidence that their children, because you only have this one chance in life, right, to educate your kids, right? So you don't want to risk it, even you have to spend more. But I think it's more of what you say is more of giving them the confidence that we know what we're doing, and we're doing it in the right way. Hopefully the outcome is what we want. Kan?
No, because today, even people say then, oh, non-Malays, this is no longer a racial issue. Even Malays coming from the middle class are willing to spend 25% of their disposable income to send their children to private international schools.
Kan?
That just shows the failure or the distrust in our national education system. Is it just a perception issue? It may be, but even if it is a perception issue, if you don't resolve it, it becomes a problem. So, 3 quick things. Revamp our national curriculum, provide subsidized nutritious food for all students in national schools, and 3, to close the gap of digital literacy, laptops and tablets, which obviously ties to proper internet infrastructure. Then I think you can tilt it back. I mean, one of the times where there's a biggest exodus of non-Malay students from national schools, and I know quite a number of friends who were pulled out then by their parents, was when we keep on shifting from this PPSMI, English, Math, Science, and then to Bahasa, and then change again and shift. Today we're talking about shifting again. So people then lose trust in our national education curriculum. And to me, the biggest hypocrisy in Malaysian politics today, people are criticizing me, saying I'm too open, liberal when it comes to our education blueprint, are the very same people who will send their children to France, to UK, to Epsom. I mean, I have nothing against these schools, right? Actually, it is their choice to do so. But the least you can do is to put in effort to change our national curriculum, instead of saying, oh, tak boleh, ni kena bahasa, ni kena ni. Anak engkau pergi dekat sekolah, tak ada pun cakap bahasa Melayu, ni all English. So stop being bloody hypocrites on this matter.
True.
So, I mean, to me, this is not about politics. This is about nation building. And if our education blueprint is not clear and visionary, we are depriving millions of children proper quality education, which can really break them from the chain of poverty.
I feel as if I'm sitting in Parliament, we're debating. But actually, there's one more reflection I know. You said that when you were in your earlier days, you were a lot more fiery and confrontational. Today you are much more composed. So I hope this is the version of still composed. Don't lose the fire. Okay, don't lose the fire. But I think the way that you articulate it is a lot more, how to say, more mature, if one would say. Okay. Can I just have one final question? Again, it's related to policy.
Sure.
If you were, say, Home Minister, and there's still a heavy reliance on foreign workers till today. What may be 1 or 2 policies that you can see that you would like to pursue to hopefully correct that imbalance?
I think there are 2 parts, right? Okay, I want to look at the power and jurisdiction of the Home Minister.
Okay.
It's actually quite big. Actually, foreign workers, if you ask me, should be taken away from the Home Minister and put under Labour, Human Resource and Labour.
Okay.
This is not my recommendation. Okay. This is the recommendation of the independent committee chaired by this former appeal court judge, Datuk Usam or Datuk Hisham. But it was a committee of experts who then realised that too much power is in the hands of the Home Minister. For example, Home Minister taking care of the immigration department, which brings in the foreign workers, at the same time giving the permit. So it's like everything is there, no check and balance. And the problem with that is, it breeds corruption, abuse of power. But worse, how is the Home Ministry competent enough to know about economic policies on the need for foreign immigration? That's not. It's under Human Resource and Labour. So first and foremost, I'll follow the recommendation of the independent committee, move it towards Human Resource and Labour.
So there is a recommendation.
Again, if you are the Home Minister, you want to be rich, you keep that, because I'm telling you that's where all the money is at. But that's where the corruption is at. That's where like modern slavery is at, right? Because every single foreign worker coming in effectively has at least 5,000 ringgit on his head for me to read. But that's wrong. That's why I say move it. Okay, now properly on Home Ministry. One, I think the very basic purpose of Home Ministry is domestic security, right? Which is police, bomber, etc. I mean, sorry, not bomber, more of police, right? I think it must be a package. Number one, I'll make sure I'll convince the government to increase the wages of the police. And it must be widespread. Because the fact that today, police living in KL can still earn below minimum wage is ridiculous. Ridiculous. It's just impossible to live with that standards, and then you wonder why there's corruption. People say, some will argue, but wage has nothing to do with corruption. yeah, sure, if you reach like a gaji of 5,000-10,000 and
Yeah.
above and you want to be a millionaire, but below 1,500 is below poverty level.
Yeah.
Okay, so one is there must be widespread reform on the salary scale. But with that, I will argue with the police establishment comes with accountability. I will not just push for IPCC, now there's IPCC. I will push for IPCMC. Therefore, there's genuine accountability. You do any problem, and it's not, so people always ask, who police the police? Right? So IPCC is still internally within the police establishment. No. I want to have police representatives, ex-IGPs, but I also want to have independent panels made up of different groups of people. So there are other groups who are also policing the police. Why I say that? Then you deal with the few rotten bad apples. Are all police corrupted? No, they're not. I've worked with those who I know for a fact are leaders of integrity, who have fought the temptation of millions, because it's very easy in their position to get millions. So easy. They catch one of the drug kingpin, instead of the drug kingpin getting the death penalty, you give me 10 million, the person will give 10 million. But I know people who have resisted the temptation who are now at the top of the force. So unfair to stereotype, but they are bad apples. But with IPCMC, I think you can remove the bad apples and reward the good guys to climb up. But above and beyond that, to ensure, so they already have good quarters, housing, salary, but attached together with a deal of full accountability. And then from there onwards, one of them is corrupted, you're gone. When I say gone is, now tak ada tukar-tukar or move from one place to another. Usually you call cold storage. No. You're fired.
Yeah.
Therefore, you no longer have that job
there.
tenure and security. No. I've given you a proper life, proper quality of living. You make a mistake, you're gone. Right? There are many others who are waiting to come in. Okay. But above and beyond that, it's not enough. I think it's time to really embrace AI in dealing with domestic security. In every single corner of Malaysia, which has a specific demographic population, which has, let's say for an example, for every 50 meters, there must be one CCTV, right? And I will invest a lot in it.
To monitor.
Correct, to monitor. So the point is, that will, in and of itself, deter anyone from committing a crime. Yes, people say, oh, this will be a police state. Yes. When I say not police state in terms of being a dictatorial state, but creating an environment with AI and enough police force on the ground that even without the need of police intervention, you are unwilling to commit that crime. No longer these dark alleys or black spots where you are not being watched. And I think you can do that. And there's a lot we can learn again from Singapore and to some extent China. Not too far as China where they tie it together with social credits. I'm not going there. But enough surveillance to a point that you will think 100 times before you even consider committing a crime. Then you package it together, I think you'll have. I no longer want to hear when tourists come or kena pau, foreign workers come kena pau, Singaporeans are not willing to come to JB because they see it as a crime hotspot. Orang takut nak keluar, women are scared to go out late at night on their own because their security will be at risk. No. Now with a properly paid police force where their welfare is taken care of with proper accountability, plus with AI and technology combined, you'll have a safest country in Malaysia.
Oh, there's a lot. But again, I mean, these are the out-of-box thinking and courage, kederat that we need to have. You know, YB, wow, I we've taken a lot of your time this morning, and I know that, there's so many more ideas and kata-kata perangsang that you have. But I think for today, thank you so much again. May I wish you all the best. Please convey our salams to your lovely parents and to your family, and really thank them also, and all those that are behind you, supporting you, because we the rakyat, for selfish reasons, we depend on having leaders like you, in the forefront and even for the future. And you may not aspire, but I'd be very happy one day, maybe when I'm not even here anymore, that you may even be the Prime Minister of our beloved nation. So, inshallah, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Ditakdirkan.
Thank you.
So again, thank you once again, and we wish you all the best. And inshallah, we may even meet you again sometime.
Definitely. Thank you very much, sir. And thank you for inviting me to your podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, mashallah, thank you once again for joining us on this episode of Cuba Cerita. Actually, the Merdeka in me is very synonymous with what we talked about today. It's about breaking barriers, standing up to challenges, and bringing out the best in all of you. So I hope that you will be inspired by what you heard today. I certainly was. this actually may also bring a close to our season 2 actually. We've had plenty of episodes this season, and I think this is meant to be the final episode. YB, Alhamdulillah, is a great conclusion to this season 2 of Cuba Cerita. So thank you once again for supporting us. Please continue to subscribe. There's a whole archive of episodes in the past that I hope you can still find time to look up if you've not actually watched them. So please take advantage of that. But till we see you again, thank you so much again. Have a good week ahead. Assalamualaikum, salam sejahtera, and we wish you all very well.
Assalam.
Bye now.